Hello everybody and welcome to our first episode of VegOut. I wanted to give you guys a chance to see some of the recipes that I actually use on a regular basis because I get asked all the time as a health teacher, what do you eat as a vegetarian? I'm going to be honest, I'm not a complete vegetarian. I do actually eat seafood every once in a while. I go through phases where I go through nothing at all. But I do try to keep it, different and try to change the types of foods that I eat on a regular basis. However, unless you've been living under a rock for a very long period of time, you're very well aware that eating fruits and vegetables is super duper important. So if you're anything like me, you were brought up with meat, potatoes, and hopefully a vegetable. My mom tried to make sure we had a salad and a vegetable at all times. However, that's not necessarily the way that we know nowadays how we're supposed to be eating. It's not that our parents did that on purpose. They thought they were doing the best thing by us. All research is showing that the more fruits and vegetables that you have, and preferably doing that all the time, will make sure that you live a long, healthy life. So let's try to get some recipes in. Even if you're not going to be a vegetarian, even if you're going to not be a vegan, let's try to get some recipes in. We're also going to try to have it so that we're going to go to different restaurants, starting out within Long Island, then going off to maybe into the New York City area, and then branching off to some of the other places, and get to see some of these delicious, amazing vegetarian and vegan recipes so that you can get a little bit of a better idea of what to make and how to make it without it getting too crazy. So the first thing we're going to do today is I'm actually going to make something, because if you're anything like me, you really love tuna fish. And that's something that is really quick and easy, and we make it a lot of times on the weekends, or we make it to bring to work because it's something we really don't have to worry about because it's, so quick to make. So here's what the ingredients you're going to need. The first thing you need to do, and this is what I got, is I got here a very important ingredient, which would be chickpeas. If you are a vegetarian, chickpeas is a really huge, important staple in your diet. Another thing we're going to need over here is a lemon. You don't need a full lemon. A half a lemon is really about all you're going to need. I prefer vegan mayonnaise. I don't care what kind of brand it is. You don't have to use vegan mayonnaise, but I do try to do mostly vegan food as often as I possibly can. That way I don't feel so bad if I kind of cheat a little bit and have some cheese at some other point. But most of the time I try to keep to that veganese or some kind of vegan mayonnaise. Another important ingredient for this is going to be your avocado. Now make sure it's nice and ripe. You don't want it to be too hard, but you also don't want it to be brown and for it to look gross. Another thing, obviously, we're going to make sure we have organic fruits and vegetables here. So I have a tomato from the local farmer's market I started to cut into. And I also have some celery that's going to be an important piece of this as well. And of course, from my local farmer's market, I have some organic lettuce that we're going to use to add on to our food. Another thing that we need to not forget is going to be, and you're going to notice this right here, right in my shelf, with some of the other things I have. Don't look at those Cocoa Puffs. Those are my roommate's Cocoa Puffs. They are not mine. Is some vegetarian or vegan nutritional yeast. If you're going to be a vegetarian or a vegan, a very important ingredient to have is going to be nutritional yeast. If you don't have it for this recipe, please don't be scared off, but it does make everything tastier, and it does add to the vitamins that we need to have, especially if you're going to be cutting meat out of your diet or even just greatly reducing it. So that's the other thing we're going to do. All right, the first thing, and I guess the last ingredient, which is going to be what we're going to start off with, is right over here, some sprouted bread. I really like Ezekiel bread. There happened to be a sale on this California-style complete protein bread, sprouted wheat. So that's made with obviously organic wheat, and it's been sprouted. You want it to be sprouted because there is going to be better nutrients for you in there. And I use my wonderful toaster on a pretty regular basis. Let's keep it nice and toasty on there. Let's toast it as high as we can. All right, and we're going to turn that on. While that's toasting, I love my Vitamix. You're going to see me use this pretty often when I do this show. My Vitamix has been, a wonderful tool that I use on a pretty regular basis. If you don't have a Vitamix, a blender, a food processor, all of that stuff would work as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here. I pre-measured this a little bit. It's about a cup or so of the chickpeas. You can use canned. I happen to use one that was not canned, so it was boiled. So I had to let that sit overnight. And the next thing you're going to do is just a little bit of lemon. So you can just take this lemon and you're going to cut the lemon very, very easily. take a little bit of this lemon, and we're going to bring it over here and squeeze just a little bit in there. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of lemon in there for you. All right, so let's see how this goes. First of all, we're going to just put the top on here, do it a quick little variable on the part of the lowest one we can do, and we're not trying to grind it up completely. In fact, if there's chunks left, that's actually kind of what you want. You don't want it to be like hummus, and if you see what that looks like in there, you don't want it to be like hummus where it's going to get very, very creamy. In fact, if there's some pieces left, you're actually good. Let's just do a little bit more. All right, and that's probably about all I'm going to need. Yep. See, if you're seeing that, there's some chunks in there still. It's very, very good. Oops, I forgot my bowl. Here is my bowl. All right, so we're going to scoop out the hummus, or not the hummus, I'm sorry, the chickpeas that's not as thin as hummus. It's still got clumps in there. And we're going to scoop it into our bowl. You want to try to get as much of it in there as you possibly can. All right. Next thing you're going to do, just like you would for tuna fish, take some of this. Now, I used to get yelled at all the time for this. If you need to use a clean spoon because that's going to bother you, I normally am pretty good about not putting weird stuff in my mayonnaise, but if that's going to be something that bothers you, get a clean spoon for that. And I'd say probably about 2 tablespoons. That's about all you need. And now we're going to go over here to our celery. Make this nice and easy. I cut it down. I always like everything to be as easy as humanly possible, because again, if it's not easy, we're not going to do it. Easiness is going to trump everything else. So, I always recommend, let's say you don't want this now. Let's say you want this maybe tomorrow or, later on, or you have kids and they want snack when they get home. Make it the night before. This is actually one of those things that tastes really, really good when you make it the night before. And that way you don't have to worry about it. And if your kids are hungry when they come home from school, it's pretty easy for them to, just put this together and make it themselves. I think I'm just going to add a little bit more celery here. I like it. Sometimes I like to add pieces of carrot. That just switches it up just a little bit. So I put 2 celery sticks in there. Again, you don't like it too much celery, don't put 2 celery sticks. This is really all just for you. And a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and we're going to mix everything up. And again, if I start to notice that this is not creamy enough for me, I can always add some more vegan eggs or the mayonnaise of your choice. And it's starting to get that little tuna fish look. So, this is up to you. Again, this is all your preference. How much mayonnaise do you actually like in there? If you don't like too much, then, leave it with a little bit less. To me, this is about perfect for me. All right, let's go and grab a plate because really quickly, our bread is going to be done cooking. So here's my plates over here. And I think that we are ready to take out our bread. Let's let that other one cook a little while longer. And this is the finishing touch. We're going to take our bread, and of course, I love avocado. I think I could put avocado on everything. Take this avocado, cut it right down the middle. Aha! Look how perfect that one is. And I like to kind of slice it a few times just to make sure I get it out of there really nicely. And I take my avocado. Get it on there nicely. Now notice, I'm putting a lot of avocado on here. For those of you who are concerned about fat, that's always the big thing that they're talking about is how much fat there is. Well, when you're doing vegetarian and really realistically vegan food correctly, you're not counting calories. It's one of the greatest things about eating food that is actually good for you, that's actually, sustaining your body as opposed to food like, you know, pizza and, you know, all this meat and things like that. We're worried about saturated fat and we're worried about all these other things. Well, realistically, when you're eating, especially vegan food, because of course, when you're eating vegetarian food, you're concerned about too much animal proteins when it comes to dairy. However, when you're looking at real vegan food, you're not worried about any of this. And this, of course, is a vegan meal when you're making it with a veganese. Okay, so we're going to put that on there. Now, I'm going to take this piece of lettuce, and I'm just going to put a little bit on here. Just have a little lettuce on there. And let's cut some of my tomato. And I like it kind of thin. Of course, how much tomato you want there is up to you. This would be the part where I'm going to take my nutritional yeast and I'm going to sprinkle it on there. For those of you who've never had nutritional yeast before, it gives it this kind of cheesy flavor. It's the closest I can say is cheesy flavor, but it's not exactly what it is, but you know, that's the best description of it that I've heard before. And now to put, we've got one more spoonful of this deliciousness. I really scoop it on there. I don't know about you, but I like all the insides on there. And of course, we're going to take that bread out because I let it stay a little bit warmer while we were finishing up over here. And we're going to cut this in half so that you can see what this looks like. And now there you go. There's the middle. And let's see what this tastes like. It's so delicious. I forget how good it is until I make it again. So there you had it. Very easy ingredients. You watch this for a very short period of time and look at a full meal. Normally I would make this with a salad if I wanted to make sure that I really made myself full and got some extra leafy greens in my diet. But very hearty. It's going to make you very full and you're going to love it. Your kids are going to like it as well. If they like tuna fish sandwiches, it's going to be something they actually really like. So enjoy, and I hope you tune in for another one of our Veg Outs. Happy eating!